So, what's up? What's up? I feel with this ongoing beef, Steve Harvey, he has taken to the stage on his Steve Harvey morning shows.
This thing that's going around now about comedy beefs, it's only coming really from a few people. 85 South ain't beefing with nobody. And those are the youngest comedic giants out there. What you're seeing, man, in these comedy beefs are people who aren't where they used to be.
Baby, he be saying it like I'm a problem.
Oh, you have been a problem.
Well, Steve, okay.
What was it? Let's go.
Let's go.
You started getting labeled as difficult.
Yes.
Why do you believe that happened? And do you see that changing, and why?
I got labeled as difficult, my husband and I. And my husband is Sydney, who happens to be my manager. We got labeled as difficult because I said one word, and that was no. Now, I said no to some very powerful people. I said no to Oprah Winfrey. I said no to Tyler Perry. I said no to Lee Daniels. And I said no to Lionsgate.
About Tyler Perry came up against her, how her name was just shredded through the industry of Hollywood to not be able to work, being labeled as difficult to work with. You got Oprah, you got Lee Daniels. This is the same going conversation. It was just mentioned that when Monique was on tour with Kings of Comedy, that she went out on stage and allegedly degraded or said some unkind things. Don't quote me verbatim. This is just my opinion. All things alleged. Said some things about DO Huguely. So obviously, this is still an ongoing situation. If Steve Harvey was so invested and cared about what was going on between a man and woman, this black woman, this black man at the time, why wasn't there a stop to it then? Why aren't we hearing about a sit down that Steve Harvey tried to have then? Why are we still discussing the same thing and then want to bring white people in it to say white people don't degrade each other like black people do? Why are we still discussing the same thing?
Because of money. Once they get that money in their hand, they turn to somebody else. They don't do anything. And that's part of the problem. Since he wants to bring up the white man, every time the white man says something, they jump.
I haven't trusted Steve Harvey ever since I saw him. Well, I ain't never trusted him because I ain't never known him. But this to me spoke something about his character and what type of person he is. For one, when he did that interview with Monique, which I'm going to play some of that so we can have a reaction to that. But also, does anybody remember when he helped build that hedge around then President-elect Trump? Actually showed up to pray for this man. Now, what he was in agreement to pray about, who knows? What the conversation was before, during, after, who knows? But people got to be careful who they lay hands on, because energy is exchanged. People got to be careful who they do accept prayer from. But I'm going to play some of this interview for when Steve Harvey was telling Monique, you got to play the game when it comes to money and how to surrender, basically, and how he's gotten as far as he has and who he has to feed and what he's not going to let enter in to turn his money around. And she needs to learn too, basically, to bow down.
Going to waver from my comedy show on that stage. That's my gift, and that's my freedom. And what happens is when you allow people to start taking your freedom and your gift and making it become what makes them comfortable, we then lose. When you called me with the morning show on the phone, I said to you, Steve, my family is suffering behind this. And y'all know I did nothing wrong. Y'all know my husband did nothing wrong. But none of y'all in real time, was strong enough to go publicly and say, we can't throw our sister under the bus.
Because Mo, listen to me. We fighting two wars here.
What war?
There's two wars. It's what your issue is, and it's what the perception of the issue is, and the narrative has changed.
See, I'm hearing what you're saying, baby, and I agree with it when the narrative changes. But if all of y'all said, this is the only issue I have with it, baby, when all of y'all said privately, to include Oprah, all of y'all said privately, I've done nothing wrong.
When you tell the truth, you have to deal with the repercussions of the truth. We black out here. We can't come out here and do it any kind of way we want to. Listen to me. Your husband can't be the Sydney that he really is out here.
Let me tell you something.
That flexing,
we
got to flex a different way. We out here in a game. This the money game. This ain't the black man's game. This ain't the white man's game. This the money game.
But
we in the money game. And you cannot sacrifice yourself. The best thing you can do for poor people is not be one of them. You cannot help them.
We're in the money game. But let me tell you what the game is before the money game. Before the money game, it's called the integrity game. And we've lost the integrity worrying about the money.
But Mo,
wait a minute.
If I crumble, my children crumble, my grandchildren crumble. I cannot, for the sake of my integrity, stand up here and let everybody that's counting on me crumble so I can make a statement.
There it is right there. Once he said that, we black folks can't. See what I'm saying? This has been going on and on and on.
Like you on the plantation somewhere.
Like you on the plantation. Y'all got to come together.
That's that plantation.
Should have came together right then and made that clear. Before it got to that point. That's what y'all should have done.
When you deal with a woman, dealing with women who are quickly to be labeled black women.
Not even just a woman. A black person. They all should form together. Instead of throw one of them under the bus, come together.
But
stand up together.
Her situation got pointed out.
Yeah, I realize that.
Her situation got magnified. I have not yet seen a comedian, as a man, a black man, to have these issues. Because a lot of times what happens too, when you're that person, let's say being picked on in the classroom, being picked on in school, then you got other people that join in and don't take a stand. So when she happens to be this comedian that's being picked on, and she's a woman, and nobody is banding together to say anything, if anything, going against the grain and having their say like it's a field day, and then it just continues to be one thing after the next, after the next, after the next. But because she's gaining some headway now, because this was some years ago, regaining some traction, all of this has to be brought back up again, which I'm glad it's being revisited. But soon as he said that plantation talk, but the best thing you can do is to help poor people is not be poor. This is the money game. Do not become one of the poor people. She said to her, this is about integrity. Having a say, speaking up for what is right. What do you choose?
Everybody poor can't get money. Everybody poor don't have the knowledge. Everybody doesn't have or gets the breaks that some people get. Everybody don't. A lot of poor people don't even know how to go about it. So what do you do with them? Just kick them
to the curb.
To the curb.
Be done with them. Let them wind up in tents. Let them wind up in the
under bridges.
Soup line, a shelter, trying to build a little tiny house. Then what if they don't have the money to even have electricity or running water? What does happen? So this voice that she's giving is for the unheard. Somebody got to speak and make some noise.
It's called help.
Sacrifice.
It's called help. Some people need help. He can't pay everybody's bill. The other comedian can't pay everybody's bill.
DO
but you
Huguely.
can come together as one and show one and try to help these other people, or try to help the poor people to not be one of them. That's the key to it. Not just by saying well, I'm gonna go over here and build this building and have free breakfast for the. You got to go further than that.
Do you believe that sometimes people can fester roots in their minds, in their spirit, in their soul that can be so deep that it's almost so hard to get back to basics, to be a help, that you can be so against somebody that you don't even want to help, but you smile on their face, tell them one thing. As soon as you turn around behind their back, you sing a totally different song. And then when they uncover it, they find out, or they done heard it, or heard it for themselves. They call you out. People don't like to be corrected either. That's what I'm saying. Keep going, Mo. Notice too, though, all that clapping that was going on, that was the showrunners making sure it's his show, the Steve Harvey show. Of course he's going to be supported on what he's saying, and look at the stance he took. He took the American dream stance to still be good with his handlers. No, you was not going to hear the clapping of the women. No, you wasn't going to hear the clapping of the men. Or
if you have to lick butt,
go ahead.
then you have to. Then they say you have. Then he's saying, then you have to, or his whole bridge will be tumbling down. They always use that stuff against you. So why not, when you do get up there and not being poor, why don't you come up with one of the first things you do is to come up with this when that part comes up, that you got another way of handling it besides kissing butt.
So when the question,
and that's what we don't do.
So when he also brought up the Netflix situation, he said, you wanted us to boycott Netflix, but there was no clear direction of what we're to do. Now, we done already heard that about boycotting, there's no clear direction. But it sounds like for Steve Harvey's direction, lick butt, kiss butt, do what you got to do to stay in the game because it's a money game. No integrity whatsoever.
Your stuff was just crumbling down like you can't do nothing else.
Yeah, but surrender.
But surrender.